Wow, I guess it's that time of year again. Roll the intro. What is going on, everyone? It's Jack here from Nothing But Tech. Hope you guys are all doing well. It's that time of year again where tons and tons of leaks are coming out for the next iPhone, and everyone gets on the hype train for September. So I want to compile all the leaks and all the rumors into one comprehensive video that you guys can watch if you're interested in what the next iPhone is going to be. And stay tuned and be sure to subscribe to the channel if you are interested in the next iPhone, because I have a bit of an exclusive coming in next week, which I'm going to make a video on. It may or may not be what the iPhone 8 is going to look like, so you're going to want to stay tuned for that. But I'm going to compile all the rumors, all the leaks, right into this video, so let's go. So let's start with the name. The next iPhone might be called the iPhone 7S, the iPhone 8, iPhone Decade, iPhone Edition. We're really not sure about the name yet, but what could happen is that there's two iPhones released at the event, one of them being the iPhone 8 and one of them being an iPhone 7S. And what the difference could be is price and then also some build differences with screen technology and the fingerprint sensor. So let's dive into the differences quickly, and then we'll dive into the more premium model, the iPhone 8. So none of that's 100% sure, but if we do see two different models, one of them being cheaper and one of them being more expensive, the more expensive model is probably going to be priced at $1,400. That's what a lot of people are saying right now, and that's going to be the iPhone 8. And then the iPhone 7S will probably follow standard Apple pricing, starting at like $700, going up to like $1,000. And iPhone 7S probably won't have the amazing screen that the iPhone 8 has, meaning the edge-to-edge screen, which we'll talk more about, and it probably also will have a rear fingerprint sensor if the iPhone 8 has a front-facing one. So I definitely think that there are going to be a few differences. I don't see Apple doing that necessarily, though. It could be a smart move to appeal to multiple customers, because a lot of people are not going to be dishing out $1,400 for a phone if they have the 7 Plus. So it could be a smart move on Apple's part. If it is, the 7S will just be incremental upgrades like all other S models. But with that said, I want to talk about the more exciting model, the iPhone 8. And let's start with that screen. So the iPhone 8 screen is going to be an edge-to-edge panel. And that means that we're going to get rid of that disgusting forehead and chin. And to replace that, you're going to have a small bezel on the top of the screen, and that's going to have your sensors and your front-facing camera. So don't worry, selfie fanatics, you're not giving up the front-facer. And in terms of underneath the display, we could have a home button or fingerprint sensor. So let's discuss that. That's one of the biggest things that keeps going back and forth. There's really three main options that Apple has, and every single month a different option is said to be the option. So let's discuss. The first option is putting the home button and the fingerprint sensor underneath the display. Option number 2 is putting a home button and then no fingerprint sensor. And then option number 3 is putting a home button underneath the display and then the fingerprint sensor on the back. So option number 1 is obviously the ideal option. That's the option that we're all hoping for. But more realistically, it's probably going to be option number 3, putting the fingerprint sensor on the back. We've seen renders of that. It looks okay. I would have liked the fingerprint sensor to be put in the Apple logo. But if Apple has figured out how to put it underneath the display, and they're releasing two models, the iPhone 7S will probably be the one that has the fingerprint sensor on the back, like in that render, which I don't think looks great. But if Apple can figure out how to put it underneath the display, that would obviously be the ultimate goal. If they can, and they decide to put no fingerprint sensor because they don't want the awkward position like Samsung did with their S8 Plus, facial recognition will probably be what they do. Samsung has implemented that in their phone, but honestly, unless Apple comes up with an amazing way to do that, the fingerprint sensor and Touch ID is just so developed into iOS as a whole, and people are so used to unlocking their phones with Touch ID that it would be a tough adjustment to have to hold up your phone like this to communicate with it. Facial recognition is good, but it can be tricked, and it's just a little bit more inconvenient. So obviously, you know what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping for the fingerprint sensor underneath the display. I'm not sure how realistic that is, though. We have seen some companies just come out with it, but that's really recent, and the iPhones were put into production months ago. So unless they're getting delayed, like some rumors are stating, I don't think it's a possibility. I know Qualcomm just showed off a fingerprint sensor, which can be used through the screen and through metal, but it's a little bit slower than Apple's fingerprint sensor, and it also is not as consistent. So we all know Apple doesn't really like to put in anything in their phone unless it's great. So I don't see them going that route. And also, like I said, they probably just started developing the phone months ago. But to go on that note, there have been some rumors that the phone will be delayed and that we'll see like an iPhone SE in September and then the good phones later on. I don't see Apple doing that, but I guess only time will tell. If we had to wait a few extra months but then got the fingerprint sensor underneath the display, I'm sure a lot of other people would be happy, as I would be. But that's a big rumor with this phone. People aren't sure if they're going to go with the fingerprint sensor on the back, on the front, or none. So only time will tell. But in terms of the screen, hopefully it's worth it. The screen is a 5.8-inch screen, but it fits into the iPhone 7 4.7-inch model, which is crazy. I know so many people love having that bigger screen, but they don't love the huge form factor of the iPhone 7 Plus. I know a lot of my friends have the smaller model just because the iPhone 7 Plus is so big. So to be able to get that big of a screen, even bigger than the iPhone 7 Plus, into that small of a body is going to be awesome, and I bet a lot of people will buy it because of that, just because the screen to body ratio is going to be insane. And then other news, which maybe I'm even a little bit more excited about, is that the screen is finally going to be OLED. And OLED is great because it has a higher contrast ratio and it has deeper blacks. So OLED is definitely here to stay. I think it's great. We see Samsung do a lot of great stuff with OLED. They get really bright screens and really vibrant colors. So I think that is a great thing if they do that. In terms of resolution, we don't really know anything about this. Knowing Apple, probably still 1080p, but we could see that rare 1440p. I think a lot of people will be happy about that. I personally might not be, just because the iPhone doesn't have great battery life to begin with, and now it's pushing a bigger screen. To have to push 1440p resolution is not going to be great for battery life. So I think I can go either way. If it's a 1080p OLED panel, I'll probably be pretty happy. Not many consumers can actually tell the difference like us techies can. Another design feature that's showing up a ton in the leaks is the new vertical cameras. A lot of people say it looks terrible. I actually kind of dig it. It's going to be on the left side. I don't necessarily dig that giant camera hump, but the vertical orientation should help with augmented reality and better depth, which should help with portrait mode. But augmented reality is something to mention because the new AR kit is really taking off. We've seen so many cool implementations of it where you can measure rooms or see a car in your driveway that you're never going to be able to afford, But augmented reality is really the future, and I think that Apple trying to push AR forward as being such a big influence in the community is really good, and I can't wait to see the AR integrations in the next iPhone. So that's something that I think not a lot of people are talking about, and I'm actually really hyped for that. It's one of my favorite things that I'm really excited to try out and see. In terms of the specs of the phone, we're going to see an A11 chip, I'm almost positive, and then 3 gigabytes of RAM probably, and that's going to be pretty solid. The iPhone 7 Plus runs really fast, so we can expect the iPhone 8 to run even faster and be a really smooth experience. It's something that Apple always does well. And then also, we could potentially see wireless charging, which would be pretty cool. In iOS 11, some people found code for some new sounds, that different charging sounds, and they kind of sound more like wireless charging sounds. So I think that if they do implement wireless charging, that means, of course, that they're not using a fully metal back. Probably has some glass in it or all glass. Something that wireless charging can transfer through. And I don't think it's going to be like Qi wireless charging. Apple never has really been a fan of that, as seen by never implementing it in their phones. It's been around for a long time. I'm hoping that they really revolutionize wireless charging and make it better and make a radius like a distance that you could be away from a pad and still work. I don't think we'll see that this year, so I don't think that we're actually going to see wireless charging. Some people are speculating it, but I hope that they hold off and don't implement it until they have a really creative way, because right now wireless charging is literally plugging something into the wall and then placing your phone on it, so it still involves the cord. So I'm hoping that Apple can fix that, and if they can't do it, then I don't want them to implement it, because I don't want that to become like a new standard, even more so than it already is, and then Apple not innovate because people are already so used to it. And then I guess the last thing to mention is USB Type-C in the iPhone. Don't get too excited. It's not a USB Type-C port, but it is a USB Type-C port on the actual brick, kind of like the MacBook Pro. And that will allow for faster charging speeds. I would love to see them go to USB Type-C, but they've already made a few cable changes, and I don't see them doing another change in charging technology until they finally eliminate the port and have a portless device. Until then, I don't see them switching us to USB Type-C to just change to no ports in a few years. So I would love to see USB Type-C, but I don't think it's going to happen. And I still think that your old USB Type-A cables will work, but this will just offer faster charging. But that's really all we know so far. I mean, we know what the design looks like, and we know it's going to be a really great device. We don't know exactly when it's going to come out. Probably in September is the most likely option, but nothing's positive. Nothing's like completely set in stone. We have seen a lot of rumors about the delays, and we don't really know what they're going to do with the fingerprint sensor yet. We can keep speculating for the months coming, but may as well just wait and find out what Apple does themselves. I have confidence in them. I'm hoping that they can pull through, but we won't know for sure. But as I said, be sure to subscribe to the channel because I do have coverage on possibly what the iPhone 8 is going to look like, a hands-on with the model. So I think that you guys should be hyped about that. Hit the like button if you enjoyed it. Comment down below what you want to see in the iPhone, even if I didn't mention in this video. And I'll catch you guys all later. Bye.